showtime.
It's showtime. And here we go.
Welcome into another episode of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is the box office weekend report and what is to come this weekend. So this will be a relatively short one. Not a lot of movies coming out this week, other than the big Superman DC return, which I will talk about very briefly. But let's get started with the box office from last weekend. So we'll start at the bottom. We'll start at number 5, 28 years later, 4.5 million. So it's still bringing in the money. I still haven't seen it yet. I probably aren't going to get to it, but I will at some point, and I'll do a review on it. Elio dropped from 3 to 4, making 5.7. How to Train Your Dragon dropped from number 2 to 3, 11.2. Number 1 last week, F1, finished at second at 25.7. And of course, we all know the big number 1 movie for this past weekend was Jurassic World Rebirth, making $92 million on the weekend. Overall, since Wednesday, it made $147.8 million and 320 worldwide. So impressive for a 7th installment of a movie that we really aren't even sure we really need at this point. And I will get into that because I've got a whole episode coming up with my take on this and where the franchise should go and where it probably will go. So stay tuned for that. That'll probably be dropped tomorrow. And where it all fits into it, and just again, nostalgia I guess wins the day on this one as well, but there's a lot in there. I'm just going to leave it alone. But it made a huge weekend for the box office, and the kids' movies are still doing well. How to Train Your Dragon, Elio, and then the list goes on and on of the movies that this year has produced. So now we're into the July stretch, with August and September coming up with a lot of like the grittier type movies, and then as we get into the back half of the year, the race to send in the last of the Oscar-worthy movies, or what the studio thinks. So right now we're in kind of that lull with the summer season well on its way. So, all right, let's look at this week's box office, or what is coming out this week as far as movies is concerned. We've got 2 movies coming out on Netflix, one on Thursday called Brick. This movie is a couple, and this looks very, very much like Cube. If you've ever seen this movie, it's a sci-fi movie. It's a really, really good movie. Actually, I got it right here. Cube. Cube is about 7 strangers who wind up in these multitude of cubes and have to try to find their way out. And it takes a toll on them. This movie kind of reminds me of that from the trailer. So a couple in a whole apartment building is covered suddenly by a mysterious brick wall. And walls, windows, doors. As they have to maneuver their way through the apartment building, they run into their neighbors who also are trying to figure out a way out. And it just looks so crazy. So I'll definitely be watching it on Thursday and probably have a review for you next week on it. It just looks, like I said, it looks like Cube, where they're trying to guess their way out, or so on and so forth. So I'll probably do comparisons probably to the movie, unless it has nothing kind of to do with it, but it kind of looks very similar to that. And again, if you haven't seen Cube, definitely go uh, and watch this. Wherever it may be streaming, again, my biggest takeaway from streaming, as we all know, is that it kind of drains a little bit because, like, for example, Netflix has Happy Gilmore 2 coming out at the end of this month, but Happy Gilmore 1 is leaving the service. So basically, Netflix is taking it out, and then you're going to have to pay for it probably to watch it on another streaming service before Happy Gilmore 2, or wait for it to come on TV. Or if you have a DVD, watch it on DVD before. So again, um, what's the point of having movies on streaming services if you're just going to keep removing them? That's why the physical media should come back. I did buy a bunch of movies off of the Amazon Prime uh, day of sales that were going on, so yay. Also, Deep Discount DVD also has a bunch of DVDs. Not, well, not a whole selection left out there, but they're trying to give away their movies as well. So check those out if you're still into physical media. Another movie, actually a documentary on Netflix, Apocalypse in the Tropics. This is focused on evangelical um, movement, uh, paving the way for the uh, presidency of Jar Jar Olason, and poses a threat to a national theocracy. Sorry, I messed up his name, but again, this is a documentary about how obviously religion plays into politics in certain cultures. Not that it doesn't do it here, but you know what I mean. So, a movie coming out in very limited release is called Daniela Forever. Uh, this one is a little weird. Could be creepy in some terms, but it is a rom-com, kind of, sort of, more on the drama side, I would think, than anything. After his girlfriend dies in a tragic accident, a grieving man uh, joins a sleep trial that allows him to rebuild his connection to her using illicit dreams. I don't know how I feel about this one. Like, I get it. You miss the person uh, so much, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I would feel. I'd probably have to do a review on this to have a feeling for it, but uh, I can't imagine living like that as far as trying to be in the dream world and try to be in reality at the same time. So I have to see how this plays out in the movie to give my evaluation of whether it's something that would be doable in that regard. Like, could you balance the two? I don't know. All right. Another movie coming out in limited release. Don't let's go to the dogs tonight. So, I know the title is a little funny, but it depicts an 8-year-old named Bobo's life on her family's farm with the backdrop of the Bush War. During the Bush War, the final stages, it explores the family's um, bond with the African land, and it is done through her perspective and the 8-year-old's perspective. So again, the title, sounds funny, but it's from an 8-year-old um, perspective. So 8 years old, a lot of times they make up words. I still make up words or add letters to it. I do it all the time. English is hard, okay? All right. So I know uh, I made funny of that, but still, uh, it looks pretty interesting. It's not a documentary, but it is basically um, a drama, and I probably will get to see it at some point down the line. Shudder has a movie called Push coming out. Now, there's been multitude of movies that have come out with the Push name, so don't get that confused. The original one starred Chris Evans. This has nothing to do with that. Um, this follows a realtor who must survive a night of terror when a deranged client shows up at her doorstep. Pretty scary to think that, um, and of course, there's been so many stalker cases out there for tons of time. So, um, Shutter, definitely hitting the spot with this one. So I will definitely be checking this out at some point. Finally, Sovereign. This stars Nick Offerman, Dennis Quaid, and Jacob Tremblay. Uh, the preview looks really good. Uh, I'm hoping that it will have a little bit bigger release, but there hasn't been a lot of hype for this movie. But the trailer looks really, really good. A father and son, part of a government anti-government group, engage in a standoff with police chief. This confrontation leads to a manhunt for the pair. So again, this looks pretty powerful, and it's got a pretty good cast. So definitely hope that it will be out in a little bit bigger release, or at least maybe coming to streaming, faster. Because I definitely would probably want to see this movie. So, but that is your box office report because I wanted to take my time with Superman. Obviously, it's the big release for this week. Will it overtake Jurassic World? Hard to say. Hard to say. Because box office sometimes is fickle. Now, the DCU, as we know it, I think is pretty dead. But James Gunn has a vision for his new DC, and it starts with Superman. Now, I've seen the trailers. To me, they look awful. They just do. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Marvel guy. Uh, I liked Man of Steel. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I liked Wonder Woman. Uh, Probably the most, I don't know, watched movie of the DCU besides Justice League, or at least the Zack Snyder uh, director's cut, which was basically the same movie except with added stuff and more dark side. Um, I don't know. Rich and I talked about this on our show. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it. He thinks that this is pivotal for DC. Well, and he said also Fantastic Four would be um, as well. And I said to him that this is a pivotal point for DC going forward because this is the first one out of the gate for DC. Fantastic Four, which comes out at the end of the month, is the first of the Phase 6 heading into to Doomsday. So the pressure is not on Fantastic Four to succeed. Whether it will or not, that's another issue for another day. Superman needs to get out of the gate fast for the DCU to go forward, even with James Gunn's vision for it. If it struggles out of the gate, I don't know how he moves forward. And he's done, obviously, crossovers. He's done, Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel. He did Suicide Squad for DC. So he kind of knows where the niche is for DC fans. But now that he's kind of brushed the old DC away, will it be enough for the DC new universe to move forward? And I know James Gunn has a lot of followers for his movies. He's done, some really good work. But if DC is going to move forward in a positive step, this has to be good. It has to be good. Now, I'm not saying good as in it makes a ton of money. What it needs to do is be good enough for people to say, okay, you know what, I'm invested. And again, from the trailers, it looks terrible. Now, granted, I'm a Marvel fan, so I may be jaded on that. But I've also been critical of Marvel as well. Again, Phase 4 was monumentally a disaster from the movie side because I think they rushed to try to make so much of this multiverse. Phase 5 has gotten away from more of the multiverse and it's kind of gone back to the story. So now DC has scrapped what we know and is now going to start over again. Can it work? Can it survive? And what does James Gunn have going forward? Or is he going to have to scale back? And, I don't know. It's going to be a hard sell. For me, anyway. Now, I have to watch the movie because George wants to see it. And George is he's not a big Superman fan. He's always been a Batman fan and a Spider-Man fan. The Batman 2 movie will be coming out. Reeves just came out with this on his social media and plenty of the outlets that the new version is all set. The script, he said, is wonderful. They're going to move forward. But it has nothing to do with DCU. So, again, it's kind of like Marvel with their Sony stuff. Sony's doing their own projects while Marvel's doing theirs, and DC is doing the same thing with, I'm going to make my own. I think they should just bring back Christopher Nolan, to be honest. Oh, speaking of Christopher Nolan, I know I'm getting sidetracked because I'm trying to get away from the DC. The teaser trailer for the Odyssey, I'm telling you right now, 2026, I'm already putting it down. Mark this down. 2026, Odyssey, #1 movie. I don't know that. I don't even know what's coming out in 2026 other than Doomsday. So I think the Odyssey is going to be amazing. But let's see what you guys think. Go comment down below if you think James Gunn can get the DCU fresh started and heading into the right direction. And I know it's not going to challenge Marvel, but I think if he can just make it a viable entity where, people are going to want to see this and see the movies and, and invest in these characters. They were not as invested in the original DC universe. All right, that is it for me on this episode. Again, look for my Jurassic World Rebirth one coming out tomorrow. I also saw a bunch of other films this week, past weekend, and I will be doing reviews on that. Also, I still have working on the Comic-Con one. I know I've been saying it, but Comic-Con season does start relatively soon, in less than a month. So I got to get this one done and see if we can't get any more guests on this show. Comment, like, subscribe, and share. Just do whatever you want. All right, thank you, and I appreciate that. And I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.